We could not have our hearing at 11 o'clock, even though this is a pointless hearing and it's ridiculous in and of itself that we in New York to be involved in Trump's trial. And so then we get back at 8 p.m. and instead of focusing on...
Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, member of the court for refusing to release audio tapes from special counsel Hur's interviews with President Biden. And I'm going to correct myself, not contempt of court.
It was supposed to be just another day in the U.S. House of Representatives. Another hearing, another predictable political performance. But what unfolded instead was a rare, electrifying clash that exposed not only the dysfunction in Washington but the rising tide of courage challenging it. Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas was prepared. As a freshman Democrat, she had already built a reputation for being both unflinchingly sharp and unshakably grounded. But on this day, she wasn't just stepping into another Oversight Committee meeting. She was about to step straight into the storm. The hearing had been scheduled, delayed, rescheduled. By the time lawmakers actually convened, it was already past dinner. Many of the Republicans, including their firebrand favorite Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, had spent the day in New York, not on official business, but to support Donald Trump at his trial. When they returned, the committee's agenda had shifted from any semblance of responsibility to one of performance art. Officially, the purpose of the hearing was to debate whether Attorney General Merrick Garland should be held in contempt of Congress. Garland had refused to release audio recordings of President Biden's interviews with special counsel Robert Hur, triggering Republican fury. Democrats called it what it was: political theater. But the GOP pushed ahead
on what the task at hand was, which was whether or not AG Merrick Garland was going to be held in contempt of Congress.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's...
For them, this wasn't about oversight, it was about optics. Then came the moment that ignited the nation. As Jasmine Crockett attempted to redirect the conversation back to the issue at hand, Marjorie Taylor Greene leaned into her microphone with her signature smugness and let loose a snide remark. Not about policy, not about facts, but about Crockett's appearance. "I think your fake eyelashes are messing you up," Greene muttered. The air went cold. There was a pause. A shift in energy. In that moment, everyone in the chamber knew the line had been crossed. This wasn't just politics anymore. It was personal. And Jasmine Crockett? He was not going to let it slide. Her eyes narrowed. Her voice, measured and clear, carried a weight of righteous fury. "Hold on," she said. "How dare you go after someone's physical appearance?" What followed was more than a clapback. It was a reckoning. "Baby girl," Crockett said, "you don't have enough intelligence to come for me." Across the internet, those words became a battle cry. It wasn't just a soundbite. It was a moment of raw, unfiltered truth cutting through the circus. But more importantly, it was the beginning of a much larger conversation. About the erosion of decorum, the cheapening of public discourse, and the need for leadership that doesn't stoop to insult when challenged. The exchange quickly escalated. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, seated nearby, jumped to Crockett's defense, slamming the chair of the committee for allowing Greene's personal attacks to stand. When the chairman initially agreed that Greene's comments should be stricken from the record, an action that would have forced Greene to leave the committee hearing room, it seemed like justice might for once prevail. But then, inexplicably, the chairman reversed his decision. Greene would stay. Her comments would stand. Crockett, never one to shrink in the face of injustice, calmly raised a point of inquiry.
Marjorie Taylor Greene started talking about Judge Merchan, which is why I asked her, "Do you know why we're here?"
But contempt of Congress. And the second, allowing Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to insult two...
So if I said something about someone's bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, would that be okay? Her tone was razor-sharp, laced with sarcasm, but the underlying message was deadly serious. She wasn't just defending herself. She was forcing the room to confront the double standard, to reckon with how far certain lawmakers could go unchecked while others were constantly held to impossible standards of decorum and restraint. And she didn't stop there. Later that evening, Crockett took to social media. Her post went viral. "This is what happens when mentally deficient people who can't read and follow rules, or just don't give a damn, somehow end up in Congress." That tweet sent shockwaves through the political sphere. But if anyone thought Jasmine Crockett was going to walk it back or tone it down, they were sorely mistaken. "Don't come for me," she said, when asked if she had anything more to say to Marjorie Taylor Greene. "That's all I need to tell her. Don't come for me." It was more than a warning, it was a line in the sand. While Greene continued her performative antics, Crockett kept the focus where it belonged, on the crumbling ethics of the institutions meant to protect democracy. In that same interview, she turned her attention to a chilling new report, a New York Times exposé revealing that in the days following the January 6th insurrection, an upside-down American flag, a well-known symbol of distress adopted by the far right to protest the 2020 election results, had been flown outside the home of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Alito tried to claim innocence, blaming his wife. "She put it up," he insisted. But for Crockett, this deflection was the final straw. "I take issue with all these grown men in powerful positions pointing to their wives like scapegoats," she said. "Let me introduce them to a song by Frankie Beverly and Mays. It's called We Are One." The crowd watching from home erupted in laughter and applause. But behind the humor was a piercing critique. Accountability in Washington had become a game of dodge and deflect. And enough was enough. Crockett wasn't done. She revealed that she, alongside fellow Democrats like Jamie Raskin, Adam Schiff, and Hank Johnson, had just launched a court reform task force. Their goal? To introduce legislation that would finally bring transparency and ethical standards to the highest court in the land. "You don't need a law degree to know that Justice Alito and Clarence Thomas should recuse themselves from anything involving January 6th, she said. "It's not a partisan issue. It's about integrity." Her voice cut through the political noise with rare clarity. She wasn't just reacting, she was building something. A movement. A demand for real reform. And it wasn't just about legislation, it was about reclaiming faith in American democracy. Jasmine Crockett's performance that week, both in the committee room and in the public arena, was more than just a fiery moment of resistance. It was a declaration that women of color, especially those in positions of power, would no longer be silent while being demeaned, dismissed, or disrespected. And as Greene and others tried to twist the narrative, as right-wing media outlets rushed to play the victim card on her behalf, Crockett stood taller. Because for every insult Greene hurled, Crockett responded with a truth sharper than any soundbite. The American people are tired. Tired of politicians who care more about cameras than constituents. Tired of lawmakers who peddle division instead of policy. Tired of being told that civility means silence in the face of abuse. Jasmine Crockett didn't just push back. She shattered the illusion that this dysfunction was normal. She reminded America that leadership isn't about who can shout the loudest. It's about who can stand their ground when everything tries to push them down. And while her clash with Greene may have been the spark, the fire she ignited burns much brighter. It burns for reform, for justice, for accountability, and for every person watching at home who has ever been told to sit down, be quiet, or play nice in the face of power. It was a reminder. The rules are changing. And women like Jasmine Crockett are leading the charge. So if you think this is just about a dust-up in a committee hearing, think again. This is about the soul of the country. About whether we reward bullies with airtime or backbones with support. About whether democracy will survive the chaos, or be rebuilt by those brave enough to fight for it. And Jasmine Crockett? She's not just fighting. She's winning.